So, hello guys and welcome to our lecture with the topic Metabolism of Amino Acids and Proteins. So, we have already tackled the chemistry of amino acids and proteins, its structure, and the basics about these molecules. Okay? So, what we will learn today is more about the metabolism of amino acids and proteins. So, when we say metabolism, diba, there are two metabolism is divided into two. So first, anabolism, which is the building up of the molecule, and then catabolism, which is the breaking down of the molecule. So we will talk about the building up and breaking down of amino acids and proteins. Pero very vast and very um, extensive ang metabolism ng amino acids and proteins. So what we need to do, or what I made for you, is to um, pick the topics that we is to make the topics that pick the topics that we need to know as medical technology students. So hindi ko kayo pahihirapan na we should know everything, or we should study all of the metabolism or all of the metabolic pathways that is involved in amino acid and proteins. So ngayon we will have our lecture that is based on Harper's Biochemistry. So, doon ako nag-base sa Harper's kasi ito yung mga medyo important or more important for us medical and medical technology students. Okay? So, Harper's ang ating um, source for this lecture. Okay? If you want to study, Harper's ang i-open ninyo. Okay, so this is the outline of our lecture for um, amino acids and protein metabolism. So first, biosynthesis of the nutritionally non-essential amino acids. Next, catabolism of proteins and of amino acid nitrogen. Next, catabolism of the carbon skeletons of amino acids kasi 'di ba? Amino acids have the nitrogen part and yung ating amino group, yung nitrogen, and also the carbon skeleton of the amino acid. So both of them we will tackle. And the next, conversion of amino acids into specialized products. Ito yung mga other products na galing sa amino acids that are very important in other metabolic pathways or in the body. Okay? So first, biosynthesis of nutritionally non-essential amino acids. So why do we need to study how amino acids are synthesized? So these are actually um, two conditions that you can see in malnourished patients, or usually pediatric na mga populations. Pag malnourished sila, you can see marasmus and kwashiorkor. Okay? So marasmus is the marasmus is okay, sorry. Marasmus is the deficiency of all of the macronutrients. 'Di ba? What are the macronutrients that we need to ingest, 'di ba? Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So kapag marasmus, as you can see on the left picture, yan yung deficiency of all of the macronutrients. So wala siyang carbohydrates, wala siyang fats, wala siyang protein. So 'di ba? Tingnan niyo yung nasa left. Very payat, um, wala talaga, skin and bones talaga siya. Okay, so yan yung malnutrition na all of the macronutrients, marasmus. So tingnan, pag tingin nyo sa kanila, inspect nyo sila, you can see payat sila, skin and bones, wala talaga silang muscle, wala silang fats. So yun yung marasmus. On the other hand, kwashiorkor, tingnan nyo dyan sa right na picture, kwashiorkor is the deficiency of proteins and amino acids only. So ang kinakain lang nila is starch lang. So for example, puro lang sila vegetables, wala silang source of proteins. So, yun yung kwashiorkor. So, makita nyo sa right photo, kwashiorkor patients, they are edematous. So, tingnan nyo, ano sila, hupong. Diba yun yung sinasabi nila ng hupong? Edematous sila kasi proteins man ang ating proteins ang nag-produce ng ating oncotic pressure. So kapag mababa ating oncotic pressure kasi mababa ating protein, so edematous tayo. Okay, so tingnan nyo yung sa right photo, yan yung kwashiorkor. So marasmus, all of the macronutrients are deficient. While in kwashiorkor, only the proteins are deficient. Okay? So that's the difference between them two. Okay, next, scurvy. So scurvy, we have I think you already know this, is the deficiency of vitamin C or ascorbic acid. So why is it tackled here in amino acids and proteins? So scurvy, the deficiency of vitamin C actually heralds the impaired ability to produce hydroxylysine and hydroxyproline. 'Di ba, where have you heard hydroxylysine and hydroxyproline? 'Di ba they are specialized amino acids. So kapag may vitamin C deficiency ka, there is an impaired ability to produce hydroxylysine and hydroxyproline. Okay? So ang vitamin C kasi, it is a coenzyme in the production of hydroxylysine and hydroxyproline. So ito siya yung hydroxylysine and proline, they are specialized amino acids used to produce collagen. Okay? Then kapag may deficiency tayo dun sa collagen, so yan na yung mga manifestations ng scurvy na patient. So bleeding gums, bleeding na mga bleeding nose, epistaxis, and then also may mga connective tissue defects kasi 'di ba deficient sila sa collagen. Okay? So don't forget vitamin C or ascorbic acid deficiency, scurvy. The next is Menkes syndrome or Menkes disease. So this is the dietary deficiency of copper. Okay, so ang copper, need din natin yan siya makain or need din natin yan siya ma-ingest in our diet because it is also a coenzyme. Okay, so ang copper, need din natin yan siya ma-ingest sa ating body because it is a coenzyme also in the production of hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine. So itong mga Menkes syndrome or Menkes disease na patients, so you can look them up. So meron silang kinky hair, so you can see on the photo on the right, and then meron din silang mental retardation. Okay? So actually, copper is an essential micronutrient kasi konti lang naman ang need natin ng copper. Pero when there is deficiency in copper, there will be production or there will be the incidence of this Menkes syndrome. Okay? Next. So, ito siya. This is very important for us to know. So, we need to memorize this because this will come out in your exam. So, there are essential and non-essential amino acids. So, what do we mean by essential and non-essential? So, actually, parang misnomer itong essential and non-essential kasi dapat nutritionally essential and nutritionally non-essential siya. So, what do we mean by nutritionally essential? So, nutritionally essential, by its name pa lang, essential siya na dapat we ingest it in our diet. Okay? So, dapat arginine, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. So, dapat ito sila, we need to ingest them in our diet. Okay? Ito yung mga nutritionally essential. Pero yung arginine, it is semi-essential. Okay? So, need din natin siya sa diet pero not that much na kailangan natin siyang i-ingest kasi pwede din naman siyang i-synthesize ng ating body. So, what do we mean by nutritionally non-essential? So, itong nutritionally non-essential, so, non-essential siya, it doesn't mean hindi siya kailangan ng ating body. So, kailangan pa rin siya ng ating body, pero it can be synthesized from other amino acids. So, itong alanine, asparagine, aspartate, cysteine, glutamate, glutamine, glycine, hydroxyproline, hydroxylysine, proline, serine, and tyrosine, they are still essential. Okay, so hindi pa rin sila non-essential talaga completely from our body. Pero nutritionally non-essential sila kasi we can synthesize these amino acids from our diet. Okay? From the other amino acids in our diet. So itong arginine, histidine, isoleucine, until valine, ito yun siya yung kailangan nating ma-ingest sa ating diet. Okay? The nutritionally non-essential doesn't mean that the body doesn't need them. It means that you can live without eating them in our without ingesting them in our diet, pero it should be synthesized by our body from the other amino acids. Okay? So what makes them non-essential, nutritionally non-essential and essential? So when you look at the when you look at the table on the right, so you can see why they are essential and non-essential. So, for example, histidine. So, look at the number of enzymes needed to produce histidine. Diba, 6 enzymes. So, masyado siyang mahirap i-produce ng ating body. Kasi 6 enzymes ang kailangan to produce histidine. So, imbes na yung histidine na nutrition natin siya, na parang used to build up proteins, so masyado na siyang maraming energy needed to produce histidine. Kasi 6 enzymes ang needed ng body to produce histidine. So sana gets nyo, 'di ba? So bakit ka pa man mag-produce ng histidine na 6 enzymes ang kailangan natin to produce histidine? So on the other hand, you look at alanine, 'di ba? Alanine only needs one enzyme. So easily produced ng ating body yung alanine kasi one enzyme naman ang kailangan. So not much energy is needed to produce alanine. So ano siya, very advantageous siya sa ating body na hindi na natin kailangan ng alanine sa ating diet kasi one enzyme lang naman ang kailangan natin to produce alanine. Okay? So kaya sila nutritionally essential. So look at all of the nutritionally essential amino acids. So 'di ba they need at least 5 enzymes to be produced. Okay? So kaya kinakain na lang natin siya. So need natin siya kainin from our diet kasi mahirap siyang i-produce by our body. So hindi naman din sinasabi na hindi siya gina-produce ng ating body. Pero masyado siyang energy consuming or masyadong maraming process to produce those amino acids. Kaya yun siya ang ating kailangan i-ingest sa ating diet. While the nutritionally non-essential, so 1, 2, or 3 enzymes lang ang ating kailangan to produce them. Kaya kayang-kaya ng body natin i-produce siya from other sources. Okay? So I hope gets niyo bakit non-essential and essential sila. And you have to memorize which amino acids are essential and non-essential, but you don't need to memorize ilang enzymes ang kailangan nila. Okay? Sige. So ito, these are the next amino acids. Examples ito ng amino acids and how to produce them. Okay? So ito, I put in alanine and aspartate. Diba? Alanine and aspartate, they are nutritionally non-essential. So we can produce them in our body. Okay? So when you look at this figure, so you can see that alanine and aspartate are produced by AST and ALT. So where did you hear AST and ALT? So 'di ba ito yung mga liver enzyme function tests, liver enzymes na kailangan that are tested by medical technologists, 'di ba? AST or SGOT, 'di ba? ALT or SGPT. So mga liver enzymes yan sila. So I have put it in here para makita nyo why we test AST and ALT. So AST is otherwise known as aspartate aminotransferase, and then ALT is alanine aminotransferase. So look at the reactions. So ang kailangan natin is glutamate and alpha ketoglutarate. Okay? So yung glutamate and alpha ketoglutarate, both sila same sila, need ng glutamate or alpha ketoglutarate. Pero for AST or aspartate aminotransferase, need natin ng oxaloacetate. While for alanine, pyruvate. Okay? So reversible yan siya. Aspartate plus alpha ketoglutarate acted upon by aspartate aminotransferase will produce oxaloacetate and glutamate. Then, pwede din siya baliktad. Glutamate plus oxaloacetate acted upon by aspartate aminotransferase will produce aspartate and alpha ketoglutarate. Okay? So, pareha lang yan siya sa baba. Same lang yan siya. Pero, pyruvate lang ang ating maproduce. Then, alanine lang din yung sa kabila. Okay? So, yan siya yung tinatest ng ating medical technologists na ALT and AST. So, sila yung ginatest na liver enzyme. So, di ba SGPT, marinig nyo yan siya sa mga alcoholics. Yan, mga mahilig mag-inom. Matataas ang SGPT. So, kapag mag-test kayo, then mataas ang SGPT ninyo, yun yung mga may liver damage. Okay? Lalo na sa mga alcoholics. So, may classmate ako dati. after niya ng PE doon sa school, sa SPC, pinatest siya ng SGPT. Then, mataas ang SGPT niya kasi everyday siya umiinom. Okay? Then you look at the reaction. So why is it aminotransferase? Kasi 'di ba, look at aspartate then alpha ketoglutarate. So 'di ba, yung nandiyan yung NH2 sa baba ng aspartate, na transfer siya sa alpha ketoglutarate. So natanggal siya sa aspartate then nilagay siya sa alpha ketoglutarate. Kaya yung aspartate naging oxaloacetate. So wala na yung NH2. Tapos yung alpha ketoglutarate, nalagyan siya ng NH2 doon sa baba, kaya naging glutamate siya. Kaya siya aspartate aminotransferase kasi transferring of amino group. Okay? So, nasa enzymes topic nyo yan. Okay? Sige. Next, ito. Tyrosine. So, how is tyrosine produced? Diba? Tyrosine is also a nutritionally non-essential amino acid, 'di ba? So, tyrosine is produced from phenylalanine. So, phenylalanine is nutritionally essential. So, phenylalanine acted upon by phenylalanine hydroxylase with the help of the coenzyme tetrahydrobiopterin will produce tyrosine. Okay? So, phenylalanine acted upon by phenylalanine hydroxylase will produce tyrosine. So, with the help of tetrahydrobiopterin. So, yung tetrahydrobiopterin natin, magiging dihydrobiopterin siya after the reaction. Then, yung dihydrobiopterin reductase will again produce tetrahydrobiopterin or convert dihydrobiopterin to tetrahydrobiopterin. So, phenylalanine, then phenylalanine hydroxylase with the help of tetrahydrobiopterin will produce tyrosine. Okay, so gets? Then, yung tetrahydrobiopterin, parang ang kanyang product dito na reaction will become dihydrobiopterin. Tapos, yung dihydrobiopterin, this will be recycled by our body again to become tetrahydrobiopterin with the reaction with the help of dihydrobiopterin reductase. Okay? So, sana gets ninyo ang ating reaction dito. Okay? Sige. Next. So, yun lang ang mga medyo important sa production of amino acids. So, now let us proceed to catabolism of proteins and of amino acid nitrogen. So, ito siya, nitrogen ito. More on the nitrogen side ng proteins and amino acids. Okay. So, ito ang ating glucose-alanine cycle. Okay, so again, let us proceed to the catabolism of amino acids and proteins. So ito siya, this is the glucose-alanine cycle. So why do we need to learn this? So ito siya, this is the cycle na ginagawa ng ating muscles or ng ating body for it to have more ATP. So for example, there is malnutrition tapos wala masyado siyang glucose or may limitation siya sa intake niya of glucose. So ang ginagawa ng ating body is ang pyruvate ang alanine sa ating muscle. So 'di ba, alanine is an amino acid, 'di ba? So ang protein ng ating muscle will release alanine. Okay? Protein ng ating muscle will release alanine. So look at the alanine doon sa baba ng muscle. And then the alanine will be released to the bloodstream. And then it will go to the liver. Then alanine will become a substrate for gluconeogenesis. So I hope you already know what gluconeogenesis is. Diba, gluconeogenesis is the production of glucose from carbohydrate sources. So ito, ang source niya is alanine. And alanine is not a carbohydrate kasi it is an amino acid. Okay? So, the alanine from the muscle will be transported to the blood, and then the alanine will be subject to gluconeogenesis. So, the alanine will become pyruvate, and then the pyruvate will become glucose. Okay? So, the pyruvate will become glucose. And then, yung glucose na naman, it will go to, again, release to the blood or to the bloodstream. And then, it will go again to the muscle. Then, glucose will be subjected to glycolysis. Okay, 'di ba? Glucose will produce ATP by glycolysis. Okay? So, glucose will produce ATP by glycolysis. And then, ang need naman ng ating muscles for contraction is energy in the form of ATP. Okay? So, kaya siya glucose-alanine cycle. Kasi alanine from the muscle will go to the bloodstream and then go to the liver, then will be subject to gluconeogenesis, then become pyruvate, then become glucose, and then glucose will be released to the blood, and then glucose will go again to the muscle, then will produce ATP. And then glucose will become pyruvate, and then pyruvate can again become alanine. Okay? Pyruvate can again become alanine. Okay? Kasi 'di ba, what will um convert pyruvate to alanine, 'di ba? ALT. Pyruvate will become alanine with ALT. Transamination. Pyruvate will become alanine with alanine aminotransferase. So go back tayo dito na dito, 'di ba? Pyruvate doon sa right plus glutamate with the action of ALT will become alanine and alpha ketoglutarate. So 'di ba, you can see how these metabolic processes are interconnected with each other. Okay, so don't forget the glucose-alanine cycle. Then closely related ito siya sa Cori cycle. Okay, Cori cycle, C-O-R-I. Okay? Sige. So, how do different animals metabolize amino acids? So, for the fish, they are ammonotelic. So, how do we, 'di ba, proteins and amino acids will be broken down by our body. So, how do we excrete the nitrogen that is the product of the metabolism or catabolism of the proteins and amino acids? So, for the fish, they are ammonotelic. So, what do you mean by ammonotelic? So, they excrete the nitrogen as ammonia. Okay? As ammonia. Pero ammonia is very toxic, kaya hindi yan siya kaya ng humans to excrete ammonia. So, ang birds, they are uricotelic. So, what do you mean by uricotelic? So, they excrete nitrogen from proteins as uric acid. Okay? Uric acid. Pero sa atin humans, we don't do that kasi we are ureotelic. So, we excrete we excrete protein nitrogen or amino acid nitrogen as urea. Okay? As urea. So, asan natin yan gina-excrete ang urea? Diba sa ating urine? So, sa kidneys natin, we excrete the urea that is produced from our body. Okay? So, again, urea ang ating way ng pag-excrete ng amino acid. So, kaya yan, we produce urea. So, when you go to AUBF, urea is one of the most abundant substances in the urine kasi we produce urea from proteins and amino acids. Okay? Sige. So, how do we synthesize urea? So, there are 4 steps in the biosynthesis of urea. So, first is transamination. Next is oxidative deamination of glutamate. And then next is ammonia transport. Then next is reactions of the urea cycle. Okay? So, I will not discuss the 4 of these kasi hindi na siya masyado important or hindi na siya high yield and makakalimutan nyo lang din yan. So, we will focus more on the urea cycle. Okay? But please memorize the sequence of how we produce urea. So, first is transamination. Next is oxidative deamination of glutamate. Next is ammonia transport. Then next is reactions of the urea cycle. Okay? So, ang i-discuss na natin dyan is number 3 and number 4. Okay? Sige. Memorize nyo ha. So, ito siya. 'Di ba, amino acid nitrogen. So, when we catabolize amino acids, when we break down amino acids, 'di ba, meron siyang amino group and carboxyl group. And then, yung other pa na mga groups niya, side chains niya. So, we metabolize these amino acids, then remove the nitrogen as ammonia. So, ammonia is NH4+, 'di ba? Ammonia is NH4+. So, yan siya. Yung nitrogen na galing sa amino acids, we yung 'di ba diyan sa amino group, so we excrete that as ammonia. Pero hindi natin yan siya ma-excrete outside of our body. So ammonia lang siya muna ngayon, and then we will convert ammonia to urea. Tapos yung urea, yun yung ating i-excrete through our kidneys. And then ito siya, nangyayari ito lahat sa liver. Okay, so imagine nyo na every protein, di ba? All of our body is made up of protein. So lahat itong mga parts ng ating body, when broken down ng amino acids, it will become ammonia first. Okay? Ammonia muna. Tapos yung ammonia will be transported to our liver. Okay? Transported to our liver where it will become urea. And then yung urea from our liver will be transported to the kidney and excreted in the urine. Okay? So I hope gets niyo kung asan yung mga nangyayari ang ating mga metabolic pathways. Okay? So ito siya ang ating urea cycle. Okay? This is our urea cycle. So look at the photo, and then first is yung nasa loob dyan ng parang may hindi ko alam anong shape niya, pero dyan sa loob ng dalawang lines, yan yung ating mitochondria of the liver. Okay, then yung outside niyan, cytosol of the liver. Okay, lahat itong urea cycle nangyayari sa liver, ha. So liver ang urea cycle. So we make urea in our liver, but we excrete urea in our urine or in the kidneys. Okay? So the first thing that happens, so look at the top part. So ammonia, NH4+, and then carbon dioxide plus ATP. So ammonia, carbon dioxide plus ATP with the action of carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1. So the first reaction, and N-acetyl glutamate will become carbamoyl phosphate. Okay, yan ang ating first reaction. So look at the first reaction, ha. Ammonia plus carbon dioxide plus ATP plus N-acetyl glutamate will be acted upon by carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1, and then it will produce carbamoyl phosphate. Okay? It will produce carbamoyl phosphate. So, yan yung first step natin on, 'di ba? Kasi gusto naman nating tanggalin ang ating ammonia. So parang factory, parang process niya ang ammonia for it to become urea. Okay? Sige, first, and that is the rate limiting step. So what do you mean by rate limiting step? So dyan nagadepend kung how much urea ang ating magagawa. Okay? So the first step is the rate limiting step. So kapag konti lang ang ating carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1, so konti lang din ating magiging urea. And then kapag mabilis siya, marami siya, so marami tayong ammonia, marami tayong carbon dioxide, so marami din tayong mapoproduce na urea. So yan ang ating rate limiting step. Okay? So most of the processes naman in our body has the rate limiting step, and you need to memorize those. Okay? So ito first. And usually, first din na step ang rate limiting step. Okay? Next, itong ornithine will be combined with carbamoyl phosphate with the action of ornithine carbamoyl transferase. Okay? Ornithine carbamoyl transferase, and then it will produce citrulline. Okay? It will produce citrulline. Tapos yung citrulline will go out to the cytosol. Okay? And then the citrulline will be combined with L-aspartate with the action of arginosuccinate synthase, and will become argininosuccinate. Okay? Argininosuccinate. And then argininosuccinate will be acted upon by argininosuccinate lyase. Then it will produce L-arginine and fumarate. Okay? And then arginine will be acted upon by arginase to produce urea and ornithine. Nababalik siya sa urea cycle. Okay, so go natin again one by one after sa rate limiting step. So 'di ba yung ornithine, nasa loob na yan siya ng mitochondria ng liver. And then yung carbamoyl phosphate na na-produce natin from the ammonia and carbon dioxide and ATP, so i-combine siya sa ornithine. So yun yung gagawin ng ornithine carbamoyl transferase, and then magpo-produce siya ng citrulline. Okay? Magpo-produce siya ng citrulline. Next, citrulline then mag-add with L-aspartate, so citrulline plus aspartate, with the action of argininosuccinate synthase. So by the term pa lang synthase, so gagawa tayo ng argininosuccinate. Okay? So argininosuccinate is citrulline plus L-aspartate acted upon by argininosuccinate synthase. Okay? So argininosuccinate na tayo. Argininosuccinate lyase. So from the term lyase, 'di ba, mag-breakdown siya. Lyase will break down argininosuccinate into arginine and fumarate. So yung fumarate, aalis na yan siya dyan. Aalis na yung fumarate. So pupunta na siya sa another pathway ng ating body. Pero ang arginine, yun ang ating kailangan for the urea cycle. Then arginine with the help of arginase. So arginase is a hydrolase, 'di ba? So ang water will break down arginine into ornithine and urea. So yung urea, yun na yung lalabas at pupunta sa kidney. Then yung ornithine, yun yung babalik sa mitochondria to go another round sa urea cycle. Okay, so I hope gets niyo yun, ha? So kapag tatanungin kayo, what if there will be defect in argininosuccinate synthase? So, 'di ba? Pag may defect sa argininosuccinate synthase, so kapag ma-block diyan sa number 3, so what will increase or what will accumulate? So, yung before sa kanya. So, for example, argininosuccinate synthase, wala siya. So, ang citrulline, hindi siya ma-act upon by argininosuccinate synthase. So, dadami ang ating citrulline and yun yung mag-accumulate. And then, wala tayong magagawang argininosuccinate. Okay, so when you look at pathways and then may mga blocks sa ating pathways, so you should know kung ano yung mga metabolites na mag-increase or mag-accumulate. So yun yung mga before, yun yung mga substrates. Diba? Substrate acted upon by the enzyme will become products. So kapag wala yung enzyme, wala tayong product, pero marami tayong masyadong substrate and this will accumulate. Okay? So, guess yun ang urea cycle, ha? Memorize no need to memorize yung mga masyadong grabe na mga details. Basta alam nyo lang kung ano yung substrate, ano yung enzyme, and ano yung product, and paano siya pasunod-sunod. Okay? Sige. So, ito siya. Kasi yung urea natin, diba, the urea cycle is done or happens in the liver. And then, the urea will be transported to the kidneys, then excreted in the urine. So, yun na siya yung tinatest natin sa blood urea nitrogen. So, kapag may defect tayo sa ating kidneys, so, di ba, pag may defect tayo sa ating kidneys, so, hindi natin ma-excrete ang urea, kaya mag-accumulate siya sa ating blood. Kaya, kapag mataas ang ating BUN or blood urea nitrogen, ang meaning nun, may failure sa ating kidneys to excrete urea nitrogen or urea. Kaya, mag-accumulate ang BUN and tataas siya sa ating blood. Okay? So, kaya siya pag kidney failure, pag kidney injury, tataas ang ating BUN. Kasi, marami namang napoproduce na urea ang ating body, pero hindi lang natin siya ma-excrete. Kaya, dadami siya sa ating blood. Okay? So, I hope gets niyo yun. So, these are the defects in the urea cycle. So, I want all of you to memorize this. Okay? So, ang pag walang carbamoyl phosphate synthase 1, this will produce hyperammonemia type 1. So from the term pa lang hyperammonemia, so wala naman, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Ammonia ang kinukuha ng carbamoyl phosphate synthase, 'di ba? So kapag walang carbamoyl phosphate synthase, wala hindi metabolize ang ating ammonia, 'di ba? So dadami ang ating ammonia sa blood. Okay? Next, ornithine permease. So kapag walang ornithine permease, which is yan yung nagpapapasok ng ornithine to the mitochondria. Permeate, 'di ba? Papasok, permease. Kapag walang ornithine permease, there will be hyperornithinemia, hyperammonemia, and then homocitrullinuria. Okay? Or HHH syndrome. So ornithine permease yan siya. And then next, ornithine transcarbamylase or carbamylase will produce hyperammonemia type 2. Okay? And then kapag wala tayong argininosuccinate lyase, it will produce arginosuccinic aciduria. So 'di ba hindi hindi ma-metabolize or ma-breakdown ang ating argininosuccinate, kaya dadami siya at ma-excrete natin siya sa urine. Aciduria, urine, urea. Okay? So dadami siya. Next, arginase. So wala tayong arginase, so hindi ma-breakdown ang ating arginine. So there will be hyperargininemia, hyper increase arginine in the blood emia. Okay? So I want all of you to memorize these diseases. Okay? So it's enough naman na ma-memorize nyo kung ano yung disease na ma-produce ng defect dito na mga enzymes. Okay? Sige. So we're done with the catabolism of the amino acid nitrogen. So let's go to the catabolism of the carbon skeletons of amino acids. So ito. Ito yung mga carbon skeletons ng ating amino acids can become carbohydrates or fat. Okay? Carbohydrates or fat. So yung mga amino acids na magiging carbohydrates, so ito sila yung mga glycogenic amino acids. So alanine, arginine, aspartate, cysteine, glutamate, glycine. So they are carbohydrates, or they will become carbohydrates because they are glycogenic. And then yung only ketogenic natin na amino acid is leucine. So magiging fat siya. Okay? Magiging fat siya. Then may iba din na both glycogenic and ketogenic. So isoleucine, lysine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, and tyrosine. Okay? So they are both glycogenic and ketogenic. So I need all of you to memorize sino ang glycogenic, sino ang ketogenic, and then sino ang both glycogenic and ketogenic. Okay? So from the term, malaman nyo na yan, glyco, carbohydrates, keto, fat. So alam nyo na kung sino ang magiging fat and carbohydrates. Okay? Sige. So, ito. Examples lang ito ng mga more important na examples of breakdown of the amino acids. So, for example, tyrosine. Ito siya. Tyrosine will become para-hydroxyphenylpyruvate by the action of tyrosine transaminase. Okay? And then it will become homogentisate by the action of para-hydrophenylpyruvate hydroxylase. Okay, masyado siyang marami, 'di ba? Pero I don't want all of you to memorize itong pathway na ito kasi hindi niyo ito siya ma-memorize, okay? Makalimutan niyo lang din ito. Pero I want to show you the sequence lang para when we deal with the diseases na associated with tyrosine metabolism, at least alam niyo kung asan siya ang block dito. Okay? And then homogentisate will become mallyl acetoacetate with the action of homogentisate oxidase. Okay? So and so on and so forth. So you can read this figure for or this process for you to see kung asan yung mga defects natin sa tyrosine metabolism. Okay? Kasi ito siya, you need to memorize these diseases. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na tyrosinemia, 'di ba? Tyrosinemia is actually one of the diseases that we test in the newborn screening. Okay? Sa NBS newborn screening, tyrosinemia, isa yan siya sa mga tinetest natin doon. Kasi inborn error of metabolism kasi ito sila. So kapag meron kang error sa metabolism of tyrosine, so there will be tyrosinemia. Okay? So type 1 tyrosinemia or what we call tyrosinosis is the defect or the deficiency in fumarate acetate hydrolase. Okay? Fumarate acetate hydrolase. So dito siya sa baba, yung number 4. Yung number 4. So dyan siya. Pag may defect dyan sa fumarate acetate hydrolase, so it will produce type 1 tyrosinemia or tyrosinosis, ang other name niya. So type 2 tyrosinemia or Richtner-Hanhart syndrome is the defect in tyrosine aminotransferase. So yung first, ito, tyrosine transaminase. So same lang yan sila. Tyrosine transaminase or tyrosine aminotransferase is the pag may defect siya, it will produce type 2 tyrosinemia. Okay? Type 2 tyrosinemia. or Richtner-Hanhart syndrome. So, when you say tyrosinemia, so masyadong maraming tyrosine sa ating blood kasi hindi nga natin siya ma-metabolize or makatabolize or ma-breakdown. So, kapag tyrosinemia, pag makarinig kayo ng tyrosinemia sa ating newborn screening, so you will also tackle that in your I think clinical chemistry and MT loss. I think dyan siya matatackle. So there will be increased tyrosine, okay, in our blood, and that will be toxic for the baby, lalo na sa baby kasi they are growing pa, 'di ba? And they need grabe ang metabolism sa kanilang body, breakdown, build up ng mga amino acids, proteins, carbohydrates, fats. So yun siya yung isa sa ating mga conditions na nakikita natin sa newborn screening. And then alkaptonuria is the defect in homogentisate oxidase. So itong homogentisate oxidase, yung pag-produce ng mallyl acetoacetate from homogentisate. So yan siya ang alkaptonuria. Okay? Alkaptonuria ang tawag dyan. Yan. So ito siya, 'di ba? Newborn screening. So when we do newborn screening, so ano siya, yung usually yung mga babies is 24 hours to 72 hours usually after birth. So newborn talaga sila after 24 hours. Kukunan sila ng blood dyan sa kanilang heel of their feet. So kukunan sila ng blood and then madrop siya and then it will be tested for a lot of diseases. So phenylketonuria, tyrosinemia, mga 3-MCC, G6PD deficiency. So marami tayong mga congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. So a lot of diseases. 'Di ba? Ilang drops of blood lang, usually mga 2 to 3 drops of blood, pero mga 29 diseases ang ating pwede ma-test, okay? So, marami tayong pwedeng ma-test sa ating newborn screening. Okay, so one of them is tyrosinemia. Okay? So, yung alkaptonuria naman, kasi there will be a defect in the production in the metabolism of homogentisate into mallyl acetoacetate. So dadami ang ating homogentisate, 'di ba? So there will be an accumulation of homogentisate. So ang homogentisate kasi that will produce yung parang mga black na metabolites and also will act on the connective tissue. So, marami siyang mga toxicities. So, kapag may alkaptonuria, so there will be increased homogentisate and there will be black-colored urine. So, kapag may alkaptonuria, so pag mag-study na kayo ng AUBF, so makakita kayo ng alkaptonuria, it is a defect in tyrosine metabolism. Diba? Sa tyrosine siya. Pero there will be accumulation of homogentisate. Okay? Then merong ochronosis. So meron siyang parang mga black dito sa skin. So maraming mga parts na magkaka-black na mga pigmentations siya sa ating skin. And then tendinitis and then kidney stones. So pwede din siya mag-produce ng kidney stones and then kyphosis or hunchback, yung parang bako gani. Kasi it will act on the bones din and then it will act on the connective tissue sa ating spine. So there are a lot of toxicities in alkaptonuria. Okay? So sa tyrosine metabolism yan siya. Homogentisate oxidase. Okay. Okay, so next is phenylalanine. Phenylalanine. So alam na natin ito kanina, 'di ba? Phenylalanine will become tyrosine with the action of phenylalanine hydroxylase, 'di ba? So phenylalanine will become tyrosine with phenylalanine hydroxylase and tetrahydrobiopterin. Okay? Pero sometimes there is a defect in phenylalanine hydroxylase. So ang phenylalanine natin ay magiging mag-accumulate sa ating body. Then yung phenylalanine sometimes will become phenylpyruvate, then phenylacetate, phenylactate, phenylacetylglutamine. So ito siya, itong mga other na mga phenyl, they are toxic in our body. Okay, so toxic siya and then sometimes mag-go siya sa brain and then it will cause mental retardation in infants. Okay, so ito yung tinatawag natin na phenylketonuria. Okay, this is a defect in phenylalanine metabolism. So dadami ang phenylalanine, tapos imbis na magiging tyrosine siya, so 'di ba ang normal natin is phenylalanine, it will become tyrosine. So imbis na tyrosine siya, phenylalanine will go to other pathways. So magiging phenylpyruvate siya, phenylacetate, so on and so forth. So magiging marami ang ating mga toxic metabolites of phenylalanine. Okay, so ito siya, phenylketonuria. So type 1 classic phenylketonuria is a defect in phenylalanine hydroxylase. So hydroxylase yan siya guys ha. Type 1 or classic PKU, phenylketonuria is also known as PKU. It is a defect in phenylalanine hydroxylase. So ito siya, phenylalanine hydroxylase dyan sa left. So sa enzyme siya mismo may defect. Pero type 2 and 3 PKU, they are defects in tetrahydrobiopterin reductase. So dito siya sa reductase, dyan sa di ba reductase, ito yung nag-recycle ng ating dihydrobiopterin into tetrahydrobiopterin, di ba? At kapag wala kang tetrahydrobiopterin, so hindi din magiging tyrosine ang iyong phenylalanine kasi di ba needed siya for the reaction. So wala tayong dihydrobiopterin reductase. So yun siya yung type 2 and 3 PKU. Okay? So, hindi lang siya mismo sa phenylalanine hydroxylase. And then, ang type 4 and 5 PKU, they are defects in tetrahydrobiopterin biosynthesis. So, wala ka talaga mismong tetrahydrobiopterin. Okay? So, 'di ba? Isang reaction lang siya. Dito lang siya, isang reaction. Pero, marami na siyang diseases. Walang phenylalanine hydroxylase, type 1 PKU. Walang dihydrobiopterin reductase, type 2 and 3 PKU. Then, wala talaga mismong tetrahydrobiopterin, type 4 and 5 PKU. Okay? Sige. So, yung phenylketonuria kasi, it will, yung mga, usually, mga babies with phenylketonuria, they present with mental retardation kasi yung phenylalanine metabolites, they are toxic to the central nervous system, to the brain, to the spinal cord, kaya magiging mentally retarded sila. So ang ginagawa sa kanila, gina-restrict ang phenylalanine sa kanilang diet. Okay, restricted ang phenylalanine sa kanilang diet. So meron silang special milk na walang phenylalanine. Kasi kung mag-breast milk sila, kasi 'di ba, infants are breastfed for 6 months exclusively breastfed. Kasi the breastfeeding or the breast milk, it is rich in protein. And definitely, it is rich in phenylalanine. So, hindi sila pwede mag-breastfeed. So, ang ginagawa sa kanila, they have their specialized phenylketonuria na mga milk. So, yun yung ipapainom sa kanila. Okay? Kaya, dapat ma-restrict ang phenylalanine kaya para hindi mag-accumulate ang toxic metabolites. Okay, so the next is tryptophan. So, hindi ko na nilagay yung metabolism ng tryptophan because it is enough to know na ang Hartnup disease. So, maririnig nyo rin yan siya sa mga other subjects niya sa clinical chemistry. I think, hindi ko na alam kung asan siya na subject. Basta Hartnup disease is the deficiency or it is the defect of our body to absorb tryptophan. Okay? So, sa intestinal absorption, sa excretion of tryptophan, basta it is a defect in tryptophan metabolism. So, yung Hartnup disease, tryptophan siya. So, there will be yung mga parang siyang dermatitis na type of syndrome. So, marami siyang mga parang kagid-kagid. Yan parang mga dermatitis na parang siyang pellagra, 'di ba? Pag vitamin B3 deficiency, niacin deficiency, parang magka-dermatitis ka, 'di ba? Parang siyang severe form of psoriasis. So ganyan siya, dermatitis siya. Okay? Tryptophan Hartnup disease. Then maple syrup urine disease or MSUD, maple syrup urine disease. So from the name pa lang, maple syrup urine disease. So ang urine niya parang maple syrup. Kahit ang amoy ng urine niya is maple talaga ang amoy. Okay? So it is also one of the diseases that we test in newborn screening. Okay? Maple syrup urine disease. Then this is a defect in alpha keto acid decarboxylase complex. Okay? Alpha keto acid decarboxylase complex. Ito kasing alpha keto acid decarboxylate complex, ito siya ang nag-metabolize ng tatlong amino acids or yung ating mga branch chain amino acids. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Okay? Leucine, isoleucine, and valine. So kapag may defect ka sa alpha keto acid decarboxylase complex, there will be an increase or accumulation of isoleucine, leucine, and valine in our body. And that will be toxic also to the body. And it will also cause mental retardation. Usually kasi itong mga inborn errors of metabolism, it will cause mental retardation in infants. Kaya naga-newborn screening talaga sila kasi hindi mo na lang alam, mentally retarded na pala, at it will also cause death to the infants. Okay? So, yan siya. You can see that the urine is ano siya, yung urine is para siyang maple syrup. Okay? So, you will also learn that in your AUBF. Okay? So, alpha keto acid decarboxylase siya or branch chain keto acid decarboxylase. Okay? So, last is a conversion of amino acids to specialized products. So, ito, first, creatine and creatinine. So, creatine and creatinine, they are actually also products of protein metabolism. So, yung creatinine, di ba, yan yung gina-excrete din natin sa ating urine. And it is also tested in our blood sa clinical chemistry. So, you will learn more about creatinine and creatine in clinical chemistry. So, glycine, arginine, and methionine, sila yung tatlong amino acids that creates creatine. Okay? Arginine, glycine, and methionine. Okay? So, pwede nyo isipin, mag-creatine, methionine, arginine, glycine. And it will form creatine. So, yung creatine, it will go to our muscle as phosphocreatine. Then, yun yung magpo-produce ng ating energy. Okay? Sa ating muscle. Phosphocreatine. Then, yung mga creatine din natin sa ating muscles, that it will become creatinine. Then, yung creatinine, yun ang ating gina-excrete sa ating kidneys. So, ang creatinine, it is also a marker for kidney failure or kidney injury. Same sila ng blood urea nitrogen. Kasi kapag hindi natin ma-excrete ang creatinine and blood urea nitrogen, so may defect talaga tayo sa ating kidneys. But it is enough for you to know na methionine, arginine, and glycine, they create or they are metabolized to form creatine and creatinine. Okay? So, ang creatinine, galing talaga siya sa ating amino acids and proteins. Next is arginine. So, ito, very important din ito siya. Arginine forms nitric oxide. Okay? Arginine forms nitric oxide. So, how does it form nitric oxide? With the action of nitric oxide synthase, so yung NOS dyan, NOS, arginine will become nitric oxide. Okay? So, arginine will become nitric oxide by the action of nitric oxide synthase. Okay? Nitric oxide synthase. So, bakit pala kung nitric oxide? So, what does nitric oxide do? So, nitric oxide is important in our body because it is a vasodilator. So, di ba, I have already taught you, vasodilator dilates the vessels. Di ba? Vasodilator. Anti-atherogenic. So, it will reduce the formation of plaques in our vessels. Also, anti-aggregant. So, anti-aggregation of platelets in our blood vessels. So, ang ginagawa niya is gina-clear niya ang ating mga blood vessels. Okay? So, it is very important for our body to clear our vessels and palakihin ang ating vessels so that maganda ang ating blood flow towards the organs. So, usually, yung mga pagtatanda tayo kasi, there will be a decrease in the production of nitric oxide from arginine. So, there will be vasoconstriction, there will be atherogenesis, there will be plaque formation in our vessels, and then there will be aggregation of platelets in our vessels. So, yun na siya ang mag-cause ng stroke, ng myocardial infarction. So, di ba? Very important talaga ang ating nitric oxide. So, it is a vasodilator, anti-atherogenic, and anti-aggregant of platelets. Okay? So, arginine siya galing. So, nitric oxide is from arginine. Okay? Then, next is tryptophan. Ito, you do not need to memorize all of this. So, tryptophan is tryptophan is the source of, di ba, tingnan niyo yung next niya, it is the source of serotonin. Okay? Tryptophan is the source of serotonin. So, tryptophan will become serotonin, or kasi ang other name ng serotonin is 5-hydroxytryptamine. Okay? So, ang serotonin, galing siya sa tryptophan. So, di ba, nakikita nyo, ang amino acids natin, there are a lot of products that are from amino acids. So from the whole body talaga natin, amino acids are very important. So serotonin, and also sa pinakababa, 'di ba, melatonin. So melatonin is also from tryptophan. Okay? So melatonin is also from tryptophan. So both serotonin and melatonin. Next, tyrosine. So tyrosine, 'di ba? Tyrosine can make thyroid hormone. So I have already taught you that tyrosine can make thyroid hormone. So yung T3 and T4, it is from tyrosine. Triiodothyronine, thyroxine, so in our thyroid gland. Pero ito din siya, other pa na product from tyrosine is epinephrine and norepinephrine, or noradrenaline and adrenaline. So same lang yan sila, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, epinephrine, and adrenaline. So it is from tyrosine. Okay? So, or they are from tyrosine. So yung epinephrine and norepinephrine natin, so yan ang ginagamit ng ating body para sa ating fight or flight response. So mga sympathetic yan sila. Okay? Sympathetic neurotransmitters. So yung mga epinephrine, norepinephrine, neurotransmitters yan sila. So it is used in our nervous system. So they are used in our nervous system. So sila yung parang messengers ng ating nervous system. So epinephrine and norepinephrine, sympathetic sila. So pag sinabing sympathetic, fight or flight response. So kapag, for example, ito kasi ang classic example kasi is hinahabol ka ng aso, for example. So itong epinephrine and norepinephrine will produce your fight or flight response. So bibilis ka ng takbo, so you will use more energy, and then ang mata mo will dilate kasi titingin ka kung asan ka pupunta, and then ang heart rate mo will increase kasi it will pump blood towards all of our body, and then next is ang breathing natin will there will be bronchodilation, so dilation of the airways kasi mag-breathe tayo habang nagatakbo. So yun siya, epinephrine, norepinephrine, noradrenaline, and adrenaline. Okay? So, next. Ito na ata ang last. Gamma-aminobutyric acid. So, gamma-aminobutyric acid is from glutamate. So, by the action of glutamate decarboxylase, it will produce GABA. So, yan yung maririnig nyo na GABA. Gamma-aminobutyric acid. So, it is from glutamate. Okay? Glutamate acted upon by glutamate decarboxylase will become GABA. So GABA is actually also a neurotransmitter. So same sila ng epinephrine and norepinephrine. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So ang epinephrine kasi and norepinephrine more on excitatory kasi yan sila. Pero GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So ang ginagawa niya kapag ma-release siya sa neuron, so i-inhibit niya yung mga next na neurons or kung ano ang maa-attach siya ng ating GABA. Okay? So, ano siya? Inhibitory neurotransmitter. Okay? So, inhibitory ang GABA. So, that is all for our lecture. So, I hope that you will remember all of the things that I have said here and you can answer your exams well. Okay, so God bless everyone and have a great day.